County to Kennett Square, Unit 3 for roll call. County to Kennett Square, Unit 3. The story of the Johnston Gang starts in 1960s Chester County, Pennsylvania. The core of the group consisted of brothers Bruce, David, and Norman Johnston. The Johnston Gang started primarily as a theft ring in the Chester County area, but quickly branched out to other cities and states, including as far north as Scranton, Pennsylvania, Delaware to the east, and Maryland to the south. In August of 1971, the gang targeted Dutch Wonderland and made off with $33,000 from that burglary. State and local police were onto the gang members, but the gang was able to escape serious charges by either bribing juries or hiring high-paid attorneys. Officers began making arrests on the gang members for anything they could get on them. Officer Davis of Kennett Square Police Department was aware that Ancel Hamm was involved with the criminal activity of the Johnston Gang and would pull him over for any minor traffic violation he could find to attempt to disrupt operations and find evidence. On September 21, 1972, Officer Davis stopped Ancel Hamm again, and a physical confrontation ensued, leading to the arrest of Ancel Hamm for multiple violations, including resisting arrest. A grand jury trial is scheduled for November 27, 1972. That trial would never happen. On November 15, 1972, officers William Davis and Richard Posey were exiting their patrol car to enter the Kennett Square Police Department. County Dispatch actually implemented a roll call recently due to other officer-involved shootings, and these officers did not answer to the 2 a.m. call. State Police was notified that they were not answering, and State Police then found the two officers here just lying outside of their car. They were both shot with a high-powered rifle at a distance. Now, this is actually a new station. The original station was actually across the street, but it no longer exists. Approximately 200 officers ended up converging on this scene so that they could search every square inch around the station. Officers came around from all over the region, including 2 from New York City. They were actually sleeping on the floor of the old municipal building until the suspect was located. The next day, Ancel Hamm was arrested as a suspect in this case. Years later, ex-Johnston Gang members who testified against the gang indicated that Bruce and Norman were actually here on scene. One served as a lookout and one served as a getaway driver. The gang continued to prosper in Chester County and opened a chop shop and a barn in Lancaster County. At one point, the Avondale State Police began construction of a new barracks which happened to be on the same route to the gang's chop shop in Lancaster. The gang burnt that new facility down. Later investigation determined that at least 200 Corvettes were chopped up in that barn. In 1975, the gang broke into Media Heights Country Club in Lancaster County and stole $15,000 in money and golf equipment. In 1977, the gang broke into nearby Longwood Gardens and stole $28,000. Sometime in the late 70s, the so-called Kitty Gang was formed. Bruce Johnston Jr. started his own gang with his half-brother and his friends under the mentorship of his father, Bruce Johnston Sr. They primarily stole farm equipment. This is also about the time that the 1986 movie At Close Range picks up the Johnston Gang story. In the movie, Sean Penn plays Bruce Johnston Jr. Christopher Walken plays Sr. Mary Masterson plays Robin Miller. In the spring of 1978, then 20-year-old Bruce Jr. met 15-year-old Robin Miller, and they started dating. Robin Miller lived with her mother just outside of Oxford, PA. In the spring of 1978, 19-year-old Bruce Johnston Jr. and 15-year-old Robin Miller started dating. Robin was actually staying at her mother's house on her mother's farm, which was located right over here. In June of 1978, Bruce Johnston Jr. was arrested for stealing a tailgate off of a truck. It was locked up in Chester County Prison. So Bruce's father, Bruce Johnston Sr., offered to take Robin Miller to see Bruce Jr. at the prison. She agreed, and he ended up raping her. Allegedly, he was involved with it and some other male that was with him. So about 30 days later, in July of 1978, she wrote a letter to Bruce Jr. in jail, telling him about the rape. This enraged Bruce, so he ended up contacting the police at the prison there and telling them that he was willing to talk about his father's criminal empire. On August 30th, Bruce and Robin went to Hershey Park, spent the day there having fun. They ended up driving back home here to her mother's farmhouse. She pulled into the driveway in her VW Rabbit, and as they did, two males exited the woods, shot her in the face. So Robin was able to make it into the house and collapsed on her bed. Bruce Johnston Jr. also made it into the house to call police. When EMS arrived, they found Bruce Johnston at the foot of her bed with her deceased in the bed from blood loss. But Bruce Jr. was transported to the hospital, and it was later determined by the FBI, after interviewing witnesses, that two of the associates for the Johnston Gang actually tried to get into the hospital through the back door to get to Bruce to finish the job. Now, the farmhouse no longer exists. It was tore down years ago. But that would have been the driveway. If you saw my previous video, you know that I thought that that was the driveway and farmhouse over there, but that was not it. I had some help out from locals and some people who were around this area at that time. This was the property where that house once stood.
Yeah, there it is. It's just crazy to think about it. August 30th, 1978. If she just wouldn't have met Bruce that spring. "15 years old.